Welcome to Paradise Love and Veggies. I'm Samantha James. Today I'm going to be harvesting a CSA. CSA stands for Consumer Supported Agriculture. The reason that CSAs are so important to farmers are because people prepay for an allotted amount of vegetables per week and then get them through the entire growing season. This helps farmers in the early season be able to afford things like seeds, new water lines, or whatever they need. It's the support of CSAs that actually help a lot of farmers keep their operations growing. The first thing we're going to harvest today is some cilantro. I've got some beautiful cilantro growing, so we're going to harvest that. I'm also going to be taking a walk down the herb steps and seeing what there is to harvest. There's some apple mint, there's some lemon balm, I've got some rosemary, some thyme, some oregano, so I'm going to get some of that as well for my CSA. My daisies are doing beautiful, and although I won't be harvesting any of those today for the CSA basket, I wanted to show them to you because they're so lovely, and I love how they've grown in this year. I'm going to collect some sprigs of fresh lavender, which, oh my goodness, it's one of my favorites. It always smells amazing. When I'm in the garden and having a bad day, I like to just come and crush some lavender between my fingers. Oh, it's such a stress relief. I love this stuff. My beets are growing really well, so today we're also going to be harvesting some beets and some onions from this area here, which I just weeded the other day. All of these onions were actually standing upright until I pulled out all the weeds, and now they have nothing to support them. But we're going to be harvesting purple and green onions as well. This is my turnip area, and as much as I would like to say we're going to harvest some today, they're still a little bit too small. So it'll probably be maybe a week or two before the turnips are available. My garlic area is looking really great. You can tell when garlics are ready from the garlic scapes, which are little, I don't know how to explain them, they're little turny things that are the pre-flower that's going to come out. And once they start to grow the scapes, then they're ready to be harvested. Although the snap peas are dying off, as you can see here, they're not doing very well. They're just kind of brittle, and although there's peas inside and they're okay to eat as peas, the snap part of them with the outside shell, they're not actually very good this time of year. The sun heat that we had a couple weeks ago didn't do very well for these guys. But I do have some, these are snow peas, and they're doing really well, and they are really yummy to eat. Sorry, I had a snow pea in my mouth. I had to give it a second there. My green bean area is working really good this year. I'm so happy with how they've turned out. These are provider green beans, and the bush beans are just so prolific. They're amazing. We're going to harvest some of those for today's CSA as well. This is what I call my Hail Mary greens area, because at the very end of planting a bunch of starts, I had run out of area, and I had to scarf out some grass to be able to put in some collard greens, Swiss chard, and 3 types of kale. And it's doing wondrous, as you can see. We're going to harvest some of that as well. Zucchini, baby! I got lots of zucchinis growing and some patty pan squash. We're going to harvest some of that as well. Take a look at a little bit of the baby cucumbers growing, because they're so cute and wonderful. So once I get all my stuff harvested, I start with kind of my wrapping basket here, which is kind of obscure from the camera because I've got some veggies there. But it basically has my plastic bags, some paper bags, my twist ties, and some rubber bands. So what I do to start is I try to organize everything. So I know first I've got some groups of onions here. So onions aren't very hard to package up. What we're going to do is we're going to take this dry towel, which is clean. It's just had dirt on it from other vegetables. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of dry off the dirt. And then I'm going to end up cutting off these hairs here. So get those dried off. Then I take my scissors, and I happen to have actually a compost here on the other side, which makes it really easy. So I'm going to kind of trim these up a little bit. And I just kind of take them and I cut off part of the greens here, and then I cut off some of the hair. So that's one purple onion. So I'm going to do that to all of them. Try to kind of make them in a little bit of a fan shape. Doesn't always work out like that, but I do try. We're going to cut off the hairs. And just do that to all the onions I have here. It's easy if you hang them upside down to get the correct shape that you want. Leaving on the skin actually is really good. It helps preserve the onion, so I try not to disturb that outside skin layer. And it's super easy. I've got one more to do here. And then I'm going to take all these onions and I'm going to grab a rubber band for my basket, and I'm just going to rubber band them all up just like that. So boom, we got a group of onions for our CSA basket. So I'm going to set those off to the side. Next, I'm going to kind of go through my greens basket here. I had gathered all these and I kind of did it. Let me move this basket out of the way. There we go. I kind of just grab stuff. So I'm going to go now through and I'm going to separate the greens, and then I'm going to tie them up with a twist tie, which I generally end up cutting in half just to kind of save some of that. So first here, this is some Swiss chard. It's rainbow chard. So I'm going to grab all these. I try to line the stems up at the end. It is really warm out today, so these poor little greens are like wilting in front of my eyes, but they'll be okay. So I do that. When you're banding your veggies, it's really great if you can get past the stem and then right up toward the green, and then just give them a real tight little twist there. All right, next I've got some I don't know what this is. I'm going to tell you in a minute. This is a type of kale, and oh my goodness, this is Russian kale. Sorry about that, you guys. Oh my goodness. By the way, sorry I missed last week's episode. There's been stuff going on, and I really hate to be a whiner or complainer, so I just had to skip an episode. I don't want to be a whiny crybaby, and stuff's going on, so I just thought it was better to just take a week off, although I really did miss you guys, and I always feel like it's unfair. You guys are so supportive of me and what I do, and it really breaks my heart when I let you down. So again here, this is the Russian kale, and I've just gathered it up. The stems aren't quite lining up, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and just twist it up tight by the greens. So we got that. This is collard greens. So we're going to kind of match these up, the same thing here. This is actually green curly kale. We're not going to get that messed up into our collard greens here. And those collard greens, oh my goodness. Look at look at these leaves, they're gorgeous. Oh my goodness, this is yummy, yummy, yummy stuff, you guys. If you ever had collard greens, oops, I missed some of this Russian kale in here. We'll have to add that to the bunch. I know that I don't have the wherewithal and the family history to cook collard greens the way that a lot of people enjoy them, but I just saute them, and I really enjoy the heck out of them. They are just such a beautiful green. They're so healthy for you. So okay, we got our collard greens. And again, I'm going to just give my little twist tie here just a little cut. So I'm conserving a little bit of it, and go ahead and tie those up really quick up tight toward the green. Now this happens sometimes, so like here, I'm going to grab this Russian kale again. I missed some of these greens, so I'm going to try not to disturb that whole bunch, and I'm just going to add on these greens that I missed and tie those right back up. Okay, and I got those. I'm trying to work super fast because the sun is just not making these little veggies happy out here. I wanted to do this earlier in the morning, but I got sidetracked with a farm tour, which was awesome, or a garden harvest tour rather, so I did that. So again, just harvesting what I have left in my basket here. This is green curly kale, and just get this all gathered up. I've got this last twist tie here. I'm just gonna bunch these up, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put my greens in them here that I've had sitting here on this counter, and I'm gonna kind of just set these below a little bit in the shade here, so they're just not sitting out and wilting in the sun. So I'm just gonna set them right underneath. This counter is nice and shady, so those will all be okay there. Now I've got some zucchini. A lot of vegetables actually from the garden do best if you don't wash them before you eat them. It helps preserve the natural coating on them from Mother Earth, just kind of helps preserve the longevity. So this flower is a little wilted. Normally the flowers are gorgeous, and sometimes I do give them in the CSA, but this one's wilty and gross, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to gather all these up here and try to be careful with them. Zucchinis, they bruise really easy and they get nicks really easy. So I'm going to just go ahead and split up these small ones here, and I'm going to put them in a single rubber band here, put them down in my basket in the shade. And then I've got these two big zooks here. They're going to get banded together, and that just kind of helps keep them together so they're not you know, floating around the basket. These two patty pans I'm going to go ahead and put in a paper bag just to kind of keep them nice, because again, zucchini has a tendency to get scuffed easy, and I don't want them to get all scratched up, because those patty pans, they're just really gorgeous. All right, now I had picked this striped yellow zucchini, and as you can see there, it's kind of gross on the top. So I'm going to cut that off, and actually looks okay, and I'm just going to hold this back and I'll end up eating this myself. Okay, so now we're to our beets. So I'm going to pull all these beets out of here. So again, if you don't wash stuff, you actually keep that natural coating on, and they'll actually last a lot longer in the refrigerator. What I'm doing here is I'm removing the leaves that have like some spots on them and some icky stuff, and I'm just kind of giving these a little brush off from the dirt, and I'm pulling away any of these stems or anything that just doesn't look right. Like right here, this is some chickweed. I don't want to include that in my CSA. That's not part of their veggies this week. Some people really do love chickweed. It's really good in salads, super full of vitamin C and a lot of other good stuff. And these greens look really good. If you've never had beet greens, if you just get the beets and, oh, here's an example of right here. You can kind of see that. That's a gross leaf. I'm going to pull that off. If you've just been buying beets and not eating the beet greens, you are doing yourself a misservice, because they are so good and so healthy for you, and they just saute up beautifully. You can either saute them up with the stem or just the greens, you know, just cut them off, and they are absolutely delicious. I made actually the other night a beet green lasagna. I had a little bit leftover taco meat that I had made, and I put that in there, and oh my goodness, it was so good. Oops, I just threw away a little bit of what I didn't want to. That's okay. All right, so I'm going to kind of bunch up these now. I normally do them in 3s or 4s. So this is kind of a big bunch there, but that's okay. And these beet greens are actually a little bit thicker, so I'm going to use a whole band just to make sure I have enough. So I'm going to twist those up. Those are going down in my basket. And then I'm going to grab these last 3 that I have, use a full twist tie, and put those down in my basket as well. All right, so I'm going to dust off. I've got some apple mint here, and if you just grab this out of the basket here, that's all apple mint. Yum. That's going to go in a paper bag. Sometimes I label these, but if I've given them a few times, I'm going to assume that my consumer actually knows that I'm giving them apple mint, so I don't necessarily keep writing on the bag every time, unless I just kind of have extra time. I've got some oregano here. I'm going to just kind of separate out from my basket. This basket has a bunch of stuff going in it, so what I'm going to do here is on the countertop, I'm going to just separate. I've got lemon balm, and I've got some oregano, and I'm just going to kind of separate these out here. Oh, there's another piece of apple mint. That'll go in the bag here. And then I've got some beautiful rosemary here. That'll go in its own separate bag. Put that in the bag, the rosemary. Got a bag here for my, they're blowing away. I'm going to put them back in this basket. Wind's picking up here at the farm. I got the lemon balm. Got just a little bit of this oregano, which is really nice to add to dishes. And then I've got, just throw these out on the counter here. I've got some green beans. And I'm actually just going to grab this whole handful of stuff here. A lot of times, because I was filming today, I did things a little bit different. A lot of times I will actually just take the time to bag up things, or, you know, kind of gather them up in the bags, or with the twist ties as I gather them. But today, because I was showing you guys, I did it a little bit different. But I've got some green beans here. Those are beautiful. Those are actually going to go in a plastic bag, because they're gonna hold for longer in the plastic bag, although I hate using plastic, but it is kind of what it is. So got these green beans. I'm going to separate out from the cilantro here. Yeah, just gather those up. I have picked a couple of the snow peas, but they I was doing it with one hand, and so they didn't make the cut. So a little bit of green beans there for our CSA basket. And then I'm pulling out these snap peas, the sugar peas, although they're super good. I ate lunch, these are good. I am going to just gather up the cilantro here in a bunch. Finding more of my green beans. Add those to the bag. Sorry. How rude, I'm eating without you. Okay. And there we go. Got a little bit of cilantro bunched up here. Oh my God. That smells so good. So for the cilantro, I'm going to take just a half of a... Sometimes I cut these actually in third for the different herbs, but... And then I'm going to put this in a paper bag as well. All right. So, go ahead and clear off my workspace here. And let me throw these onions here in my compost right over the edge here. I've got a compost bin. Get them out of my sink. And then I'm going to show you what we harvested today. So we harvested some cilantro. This went in the bag. We've got some lemon balm, which I probably should go ahead and be nice and put a little wrap on it, just to keep it a little bit organized. I was a little bit hasty in my quickness there. Okay, so we got cilantro, lemon balm. We've got some beautiful rosemary here. Gonna just put a little wrap on that, put it in the bag. I've got some apple mint. I'm going to take a second look at this here and peel off some of the leaves that don't make my approval. Grab my tag here, my twist tie. I call them tags, but it's actually a twist tie. And what do we have here? Oh, we've got this beautiful oregano, just a couple sprigs, but it doesn't take much. So, just gonna grab this. And in a case like this, I'm gonna go ahead and cut down this twist tie because that is just a huge amount of twist tie for that little bit of oregano. Okay, so we got those herbs there. I've got some beautiful green beans here in the bag. And then under here, oh my goodness, I've got the basket. So in the basket, I've got 2 bunches of beets, and I've got some beautiful patty pans that are in this bag here. I put those in the bag just a reminder so they wouldn't get scuffed up. I've got the zucchini, 2 bunches of zucchini, and I've got some purple onions, 4 purple onions and a white onion, and I've got a little bit of rainbow chard. I've got some collard greens, I've got some Russian kale, and I've got some girly, well, it's not girly, but a lot of girls do like kale, some curly green kale. And that is all going in the CSA that I'm putting together for today. So remember, if you have an opportunity to purchase a CSA, it really does help your local farmer by giving them the availability to have some cash flow before the season so that they can purchase seeds and things that they need for their farm. Helps them get going for the year. So thanks for watching Paradise Love and Veggies. I'm Samantha James, and we'll see you next time.
I've got far to go.